Right. So, good evening, everyone. Let's start the session. So, welcome you all to the first session of this ACC3374 taxation subject offered by the Department of Accounting. So, as you all know, this subject is an elective subject offered by the Department of Accounting for two departments. So I think the students from Department of Public Administration and Department of Entrepreneurship are joining today. So since this is an elective, these days, these first weeks, you can join any lecture, and after that, you can select the elective you are going to select once the faculty informs us. So until the faculty informs, you can join these lectures and see. Right. Okay, so this is our very first session, and as a department, we have invited a well experienced industry professional as a visiting lecturer to conduct this course. So, let me introduce our visiting lecturer, that is Mr. Gayan Karunaratna. So, Mr. Gayan Karunaratna is an attorney at law and a fellow member of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Sri Lanka. And also, he is a fellow chartered accountant and a fellow member of the Association of Accounting Technicians of Sri Lanka. He holds a BSc Accounting Special Degree from the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, that means from the Department of Accounting, and holds a LLB from Open University of Sri Lanka. So with over 26 years of experience in finance, tax, audit, and accounting consulting, 11 of which are in the commercial sector, he currently serves as the Senior General Manager, Finance, ICT, Legal, and Administration of Toyota Lanka. He began his career as an audit trainee at B.R. De Silva and Company Chartered Accountants in 1998 and left in 2011 as a partner to join Toyota Lanka Private Limited, where he continues to serve. So, Mr. Gayan has served as a visiting lecturer on tax planning, tax management at the University of Colombo, a visiting lecturer on corporate taxation and tax planning at Aquinas University College, and is currently a visiting lecturer at the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. So he has also served as an executive council member of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Sri Lanka and several other subcommittees. Additionally, he has been an examiner for CA Sri Lanka, AAT Sri Lanka, and the Institute of Chartered Corporate Secretaries Sri Lanka. So, with all these contributions, most importantly, he has awarded the Best CFO Award in 2023 by CA Sri Lanka as well. So I think with his introduction, you can understand we have found a well-experienced professional very suitable to teach you this taxation subject because there are a lot of changes happening in this taxation subject. Right. So before continuing, let me introduce myself as well. I'm Natasha Kaumadi from Department of Accounting. I'm the course coordinator of this subject. So if you have any concerns, any clarifications, not regarding the subject matters, but regarding those administration purposes, you can contact me. I have given my email address in the LMS page, course page, and we have uploaded the course specification as well. If there are any changes happening to that course specification, we will let you know. And weekly, we will be uploading the relevant lesson materials as well, right? So this first lesson materials for this first session, we have already uploaded. So make sure you download it and refer to them when you are in the lecture. And another important thing, since we are capturing your attendance, please make sure you rename yourself with the name and the CPM number. Rename yourself with name and CPM number. Right. So I think we can start the today's lecture. Gayan sir, over to you, sir.
Yes, Natasha, thank you very much for the kind introduction. And I think I can start the lecture right from now, no?
Yes, I
Okay,
will make you the host, sir.
okay, thank you. Do you want me to switch on the videos as well, Natasha? Or shall I continue like this or how?
Uh, it's better if we can switch on the video, sir. Yeah,
I think- Yes.
so I made you the host.
Okay, thank you. Right. I think many of you have already studied tax. So how about that? If I can get some feedback, have you studied taxation? What do you know about taxation and basic understanding? Um, can this be an interactive session or how?
You can unmute yourself and give answers, so you can use the chat box as always, students.
Are you studying CA Sri Lanka or how are you following professional accountancy courses? So how? Anyway, right. Right. Taxation is basically is a subject of combination of law and accounting. And right, what do you think about taxation is not limited to, let me share the presentation. Right. There are two certainties in our lives. One is death, other one is taxation. Why I'm saying so, the taxation starts from very beginning. About 5000 BC also, there are some evidence to say that there was taxes. And you may have heard of Pattakamma Sutra. බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ එතරදී කිව්වා පංච බලි කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ බලි පහක් ඒ කියන්නේ අපි උපයන දේවල් වලින් පහකට බෙදන්න ඕනි කියලා. එකක් තමයි අපේ ඥාතින්ට බෙදන්න ඕනි, අපේ මියගිය අයට බෙදන්න ඕනි, right? ඊට අමතරව රාජබලි කියලා එකක් තිබ්බා. රාජබලි කියලා කියන්නේ basically අපේ ආදායමෙන් කොටසක් out of our income we should give something to the government. That's called rajabali. Uh, Therefore, when we think about the start from our civilization and also up to now, there are taxes. In our ancient time about kingdoms, Anuradhapura kingdom and Polnaruwa kingdom also, there were many taxes. Basically sales taxes, and at the time of import and export started very in history that there were some taxes, import taxes and export taxes as well. Therefore, a taxation subject is a living subject. You can you can learn taxation today, but you can't keep it silent, and you have to learn on regularly basis. Then only it will get updated, because why annually the taxation changes, right? Only two things in our life are certain. One is death, other one is taxation, right? When I go to the Sri Lankan history of taxation, I have already shared some notes with you. These are the tax system in Sri Lanka. uh, Formal tax, income tax started in 1932. And the first year of assessment, I'll explain what is this year of assessment is. In 1932, 1933. After that, there were so many changes, and 1963, it is introduced a turnover tax, that is tax on turnover. Likewise, so many changes you can see throughout the history of Sri Lanka. Up to now, there are so many changes has happened. Therefore, taxation is always a living subject. We have to keep it updated all the time, right? Why we should learn taxation, right? Every business, being professionals or the accountants or businessmen, basically we should know three main subjects. One is accounting and finance. Basically, we should be able to read finance. What is a balance sheet and how to read it, and what's income statement, what's a cash flow, etc. We should be able to understand those. right? In addition to that, we should learn law because every transaction involve some legal aspect. And other most important subject is basically taxation, because every transaction involves some tax implications. Therefore, I propose you to learn. You are anyway learning finance and accountancy, law also, commercial law especially, and also taxation is other vital subject for everyone in the society, not only the student, not only the graduates, but by everyone you should learn. Therefore, let me uh, brief you the taxation subject. What is tax basically? It's a financial charge. It's a financial charge or deduction from something you get or own. You will realize what is this really. Or additional cost added to something you buy. It is not a penalty or fine doing something else. Because if something is financial charges can be some fine, but in the case of a tax, it is not a fine. It is not a something charge on something වැරදක් කරාට ගන්න දෙයක් නෙවෙයි tax එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් if we earn some income, there's a tax. If you make a payment to someone, there can be a tax. If you make expense, there can be tax, various taxes. Therefore, basic understanding, keep it remember, financial charge or deduction from something you get or own, or an additional cost added to something you buy. Basically, there can be two types of taxes. There are various classifications are there. One is direct tax, other one is indirect tax. What do you mean by direct tax? Direct tax is we impose on someone by himself, he's paying. For example, you if you have not learned income tax so far, income tax is charged on someone's income. If I get my salary, tax is deducted from my employer and paid to the Department of Inland Revenue. Payment of tax is borne by me, and tax is basically paid to the government. I cannot pass my income tax to someone else. That's called direct tax. Indirect tax is something else. It's basically on sales or turnover. We impose some tax. For example, in Sri Lanka, VAT. VAT is charged on goods and services, right? Goods and services. When the government imposed tax on vehicle, we say now very recently tax was introduced on vehicle sales, motor vehicles. Now, when the 18% VAT is imposed on vehicle sales, what we do is from Toyota Lanka, for example, we add this VAT component to the vehicle price and sell it to the buyer. When he purchases it, he has to pay not only the vehicle price, but also the 18% VAT. Therefore, though I am paying VAT to the government, but I am collecting it from our customer. Ultimately, cost is borne by the consumer. That is called indirect tax. The direct tax is basically income tax. For example, these are the differences between direct tax and indirect taxes. The person who is bearing the cost cannot push onto someone, and indirect tax is something that he can pass on to someone else. These are the differences of direct tax and indirect taxes. Imposition of payment. Direct tax should be paid by the taxpayer direct to the government. Indirect taxes are collected by a person other than the person on whom the tax is imposed. Shifting of the tax burden. In the case of direct tax burden cannot be shifted to anyone, but in the case of indirect taxes, tax burden can be shifted to the final consumer. Collection side. In the collection cost is high unless there is a voluntary compliance. In the case of direct tax, we have to impose tax. The taxpayer has to fill the income tax. Various things are there. It's a cost of compliance high, but the indirect tax, everyone, you and I, everyone is paying the indirect tax, but we don't, we are not filing any return to the environment department. Therefore, collection cost is very low. Like those are the differences uh, between direct tax and indirect tax. Then, for example, direct tax can be basically income tax, can be capital gain tax, or property tax. Or again, income tax we can divide into two: individual, and the corporate income tax. Indirect tax, for example, VAT and selective taxes, social SSCL, social security contribution levy. Previously, we had nation building tax, etc. Those are the examples for indirect taxes. If you have any questions, please unmute your microphone and ask for me. Right? Is there any clarification required for up to this point? Anyone? Right. No. Then, what are the functions of taxation basically? What are the functions? When you talk about the taxation, one is basically uh, primary function. Why the government collect taxes? What's the reason for collecting taxes by the government? Is mainly to meet the government expenses. The government need money to make the expenses. Government doesn't have any other revenue generating process unless there are certain undertakings or the business of the government and certain other like fees and penalties, etc. But the major component, major portion of government revenue is from the taxes. That's a primary reason or the main reason of the taxation in every country, not only Sri Lanka. That's we call as a primary function. For example, when we talk about composition of government revenue in 2021, 89% of government revenue is from tax revenue. That again consists of VAT, excise duty, income tax. Income tax here you can see that we learned a little while ago what's direct tax and indirect tax. VAT is 21%. Excise duty is imposed on customs at the time of importation. Income tax 20%. Import duty at the time of importation we charge. Other taxes, various other taxes. You can see the composition. Only 10% or 10.9% is 11% approximately is the non-tax revenue in Sri Lanka. See how important is tax revenue in Sri Lanka? If we don't pay taxes, government cannot survive. That's the one reason that government has to borrow money. Because government has billions of expenditure, they have a limited income, limited revenue. Therefore, as they couldn't meet the expenditure with their own revenue, government has to borrow. What happened ultimately? Sri Lanka had about 100 billion USD loan debt. That was the reason the government Sri Lanka went for a bankruptcy. When you move on to the composition of government revenue 2022, there's slight change, right? Tax revenue slightly, tax composition, tax revenue has been slightly reduced to 88.5%. These are from the central bank report from Sri Lanka. And non-tax revenue is 11.5%, slightly increased the composition, right? You don't want to remember these figures, right? Just get an idea about the basic tax and the function of taxation. That is one thing, the primary function. Other function, we have other function called secondary functions. Secondary function. For secondary function, we can identify under two. One is economic functions, other one is social functions. Economic function that, for example, if government wants to encourage investment in certain areas like lagging areas, like we'd say just after the war 2009, government want to develop northern and eastern provinces. They gave huge tax concessions, tax incentives for the investment made in northern and eastern provinces. Those are the things that we call set investment direction. When the tax incentives are given to investors, they think if we invest there, we can get a much profitability there. Therefore, other function out of secondary function, we can understand the economic function under that set directions for investment. Like for Sri Lanka, now presently, if someone is earning foreign currency and remitting to Sri Lanka through banks, fully exempt, no taxes. Freelancers or consultants or anyone. What are the conditions basically? If someone is providing services in Sri Lanka to an outsider who can consume outside Sri Lanka, even you can provide Sri Lanka service in on your desk from your home to, but the service should be consumed by an outsider. If the money is received by through the bank, because government want to track how much we earn, how much we are Sri Lanka got remittance. If that's happened, there is no any income tax at all. Therefore, many people try to provide foreign services. That's what really need. Sri Lanka needs some short of money, short of dollars. That's a good decision by the government. Other thing is entire taxation. We talk about the entire taxation. Protect local industries. We know certain industries the government, if the government wanted to promote that local industry, government can impose certain import duty, excise duty on importation of such goods. Like Sri Lanka, we have the special commodity levy that is basically can be gazetted by the Minister of Finance, and he can time to time increases is there's a special commodities is prescribed in the act. Time to time they can increase or decrease the what is called domestic this tax. With that, they can control the prices in the local market. Potatoes, onions, etc. They can control the prices or something like this. Then we have primary functions. Other one is the economic function. And economic function we know we can set the direction based on that to protect the local industry. Other one is the social function. Is a third, but the most important thing. But government has given the third priority for this one. For example, government can time to time, government is government want to discourage certain discourage activities undesirable by the society. For example, you know what's a normal corporate income tax is 30%, but in the case of a gambling or betting, etc., government doesn't want to encourage those areas. The high income tax of 40%. And if the yes, those things. Anyway, these are the high income tax rate. And also sometime back in Sri Lanka, we had about 14% income tax rate for exports and tourism, etc. But now the rate is different because now this some of the measures has been taken not on the functions of the taxation, but just for the raise the revenue to the government. Right. Therefore, previously we had 14% for export agriculture and tourism 14% because the government want to encourage. But now they have forgotten it, and every activity is 30% unless there is other exempted items. Right. And also encourage activity desirable by the society. Now we know the cost of cigarette is very, very low, but the price is about, I think, more than 150 rupees. Why? Major component of the price of the cigarette or liquor is basically taxes. Government doesn't want to stop it because government wants some money. Therefore, they have imposed many taxes, while sometimes multiple taxes, right? Therefore, with that, we think that when the prices go up, consumption will reduce. But there's other implication. When these local the liquor comes from the formal channel, prices go up, the consumers or the people will go for the other illicit liquor, etc. Those are the other repercussion or the implication of this type of taxes. Anyway, that we are learning about the functions of taxation. And other one is a reduce income tax disparity. To reduce income tax disparity, also government try to impose income tax. For example, we know that a principle called equity principle in taxation. That is basically when the people who has high income should pay higher tax, people have low income should pay lower tax. Then what the government supposed to do is they collect big amount of tax from the high income earners and giving some subsidies to the people who has a low income. That's other basically other function. Now I think it's clear for you. Primary function, secondary function, and social function of taxation. You have any clarification needed? Right. Other important area is principles of taxation. These are the principles. There are a few principles of taxation. One is equity, certainty, convenience and voluntary compliance, economy, progressivity, efficiency, adequacy, and broad base and simplicity. We will learn this one by one. Please understand this concept. Don't try to memorize those one. Understand the concept. That is what is important for you and me both. What is equality? Equity. This other similar word, equality. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resource of opportunities. Equity means recognizes that each person has a different circumstances and allocate the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. අර කතාවක් තියෙනවා අසමාන පුද්ගලයන් අතරේ සමානව බෙදනව තරම් තවත් අසාධාරණයක් නැහැ කියලා. For example, අපේ ඉස්කෝලේ අපට යුනිෆෝම් වලට රෙදි දෙනකොට අපි හැමෝටම දෙන්නේ එකම ප්‍රමාණයනේ. සමහර එක්කෙනෙකුට ඉස්කෝලේ බබාලට යුනිෆෝම් එකට ඒ ප්‍රමාණය ඇති. නමුත් ටිකක් මහත් එක්කෙනෙකුට උනාට පස්සේ යාට ඒක මදි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඒක it's a සමානාත්මතාවයන් සාධාරණත්වය කියලා. සමානාත්මතාවය means equality. Giving the same set of resources, same amount of resources to everyone equally. Equity means different peoples are treated differently. Someone can say it's a discrimination, but it's not a discrimination. We see with this image, what is really this one? This equality. Can you get this fruit, everyone? No. How is? When you divide the resources equally, certain people cannot achieve their target. But when the government understand or someone understand the real requirement and giving the different amount of resources to each, they can achieve target. That is what we really need. That is equity. Equity principle has other two aspects. One is a benefit principle. Other one is ability to pay principle. People pay taxes in proportion to the benefit they receive from the government spending. That's one aspect. If I am getting more benefits from the government, I should pay more tax. That's one argument. That's other argument called ability to pay principle. If that person, though the someone is getting the big benefit, but if he cannot pay to the government, basically it's he can't pay tax. The other argument is ability to pay principle. Individual who earn more income pay more tax. Not because they use more government goods and services, but because taxpayer who earn more have the ability to pay more. For example, poor people, they can get so many subsidies. They are going to government hospital. Their children go to the government schools. Basically, they are getting big uh, higher benefits from the government. But if we are going to tax them high, again the income disparity will go up. But therefore, government is thinking apply the ability to pay principle. Taxes, who can pay more, who can tax more. We learn it further. This equity principle. This equity principle has two dimensions basically. One is a vertical equity, other one is a horizontal equity. If someone cannot understand, please ask me either Sinhalese or English. That's okay. Please, are you okay so far? Right. Vertical equity means low income earners should pay low tax, basically. High income earners should be high tax, right? Horizontal equity means everyone who has the same income level should pay same level of income, same level of income tax. What do you think about Sri Lanka or the world? There's the global most richest man, Warren Buffett, or someone like Damika Pereira. Or do you think I am an employee? Your parents may be employees. We have to pay 36% tax in Sri Lanka. First 1.2 million in Sri Lanka income tax free. Second 500,000 6%, 500,000 12%, next 500,000 18, next 500,000 24, next 500,000 30%, next 500,000 36%. Likewise, when the income increases, our tax rate is increasing. That's exactly in line with the equity principle. But do you think Mr. Dhammika Pera is paying 36% income tax? I don't think. I don't think. Though the law says something like this, when you study the taxation subject entirely, fully, you will realize it's not happening practically. Reasons we can explain it later why it's happening. And horizontal equity is the basically if there are two persons, one is earning 2 lakhs, other one is earning 2 lakhs, both are basically has to pay same amount of tax. But in though the law says or the theory says this one, it's practical not happening. We learn it later. Why it's not happening? Certainty. Certainty. Tax should be certain as uncertainty will lead to a tax evasion, the time of payment, the manner of payment, the quantity to be paid, all to clear and plain to the taxpayer and every other person. A successful function of an economy requires that people, especially the business class, must certain about the sum of tax that they have to pay. In Sri Lanka, do you have the documents, other documents I shared with you? This is still, I think, can you see this document? Can someone respond to me, please? Tax policy changes over the years. Can you see this document?
Sir, are you talking about the screen?
Yeah.
It's the slides, sir.
Okay. Now, how is?
Yes. Now it's
Yeah.
we can see.
Yeah. This already the document shared with you. Don't remember those things. I just want to highlight some point. In 1941, Sri Lanka excise imposed excess profits duty came in operation 1941. When you go little by little go down, every year, 2005 tax changes, 2006 tax changes, 7, 8, 2009. Nation building tax introduced 2009. 11. So many abolition. To 12 threshold. ESC introduced in 2000 again. 4 or 5. 2012. The 14, 15. So many changes. These are the documents I have taken from the Iran website. Right. 2009 nation building tax abolish. Again, likewise, economic service charge abolish. So many changes. Do you think Sri Lanka tax system is certain? No. But good tax system should have the equity principle as well as the certainty. If the tax system is not certain, many people cannot understand tax and they don't comply. What is most important in the case of taxation is the compliance. That's one reason Sri Lanka could not achieve their revenue targets. When you go to the PETA, no one is issuing proper invoices. So many business, billions of business happening every day. But tax revenue from PETA is very low. I don't think they are paying taxes because Sri Lanka tax system changes all the time, and there's so many non-compliance, various things, unnecessary things happening. Therefore, one good quality of a good tax system is tax system should be certain, unless there can be so many non-compliance. Convenience and voluntary compliance. Tax should be implemented conveniently to taxpayer while encouraging voluntary compliance. Compliance, basically, this tax is something that taken from us by force. Basically, no one is willing to pay taxes. Therefore, government should encourage taxpayer to pay tax voluntarily. The tax system should be more simple and should be convenient. In Sri Lanka, annual income tax, we have to pay tax on annual basis, should be pay on 4 installments, like a convenience. If I am asked to pay entire my income tax at once at the end of the year, basically we cannot pay that. No one is keeping a provision. Every time when we receive some income, we are basically spending. We don't keep a cushion. We don't keep a reserve. Therefore, every time, if the government is going to collect tax at once, it's very difficult. Therefore, they have introduced installment basis for income tax. In the case of employees, we have to pay every month. When the government impose pay tax system, now we will APIT, advanced personal income tax. Tax is deducted from our salary by the employer and directly paid to the Department of Inland Revenue. Therefore, it's a convenience for us. We don't want to bother about that. Therefore, government can easily collect the taxes. Other important one is convenience and voluntary compliance. Next, economy. The government should collect taxes with a minimum collection cost. If the tax system is complicated, elaborated administrative machinery should be employed to collect taxes, and consequently collection cost will be relatively larger. In order to achieve this economy in the tax collection, the taxes should be simple as possible. In Sri Lanka, we have income tax from 1932, and after that, various adjustments are there. In 2004, government introduced an economic service charge. That is because everyone, the businesses at that time, I think GL Pires was the finance minister. He introduced economic service charge at this time, saying that there are in Sri Lanka so many companies are there, but many companies has tax exemptions due to various provisions, especially from BOI. Though there is no income tax, according to the economic service charge levy, economic service charge, everyone should contribute about 1% from the turnover. That was the original law. But various amendment came to the economic service charge every year, and subsequently it was become very complicated. Then subsequent after a few years it was abolished. Therefore, to get the compliance, tax should be very simple. In previously we had about turnover tax, very straightforward, about 1% or 5% collected on the turnover and paid to the Department of Environment. Very simple. Now after that, after abolition VAT, the turnover tax, we got VAT. Before that, we got GST. GST, we have output tax, we have input tax. So many compliances are required, but less compliance. Previously, turnover tax was it was simple tax, but there were some other issues like cascading effect was there. I'll discuss what is cascading effect at the time of discussing about the VAT. Therefore, good tax system should be simple and economy. Tax should be progressivity. Tax burn should be proportionate to the taxpayer's income level and ability to pay. We discussed this one on the equity principle, that this link with the concept of vertical equity and the ability to pay principle. The ultimate expectation of this principle is to ensure that people with the high income pay more taxes than people with the low income. Again, why rich people pay less income tax? I can remember I saw that Warren Buffett says Warren Buffett pays less income tax than his secretary. How this happened? So Warren Buffett is the top richest person in the world. Many rich people pay less income tax on basically in three ways. One is tax evasion. Tax evasion is illegal thing. They don't declare income, or they hide some income, or they pay less tax. Or though they declare, ඒගොල්ලෝ ඩික්ලෙයාර් කරලා අඩුවෙන් ගෙවන්නත් පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඉන්කම් ටැක්ස් රිටර්න් එක ඩික්ලෙයාර් නොකර එන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේ වංචා විදියට like doing wrong things, they pay less tax. We don't recommend. We should not do that. If we do some tax evasion, there's a penalty. Therefore, we should not encourage. Other one is a tax avoidance. Tax avoiding is something their taxpayers are acting within the law, but using some loopholes, some weak points of the act. මේක ඇක්ට් එක ඩ්‍රාෆ්ට් කරන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය මිනිස්සුනේ. there can be so many loopholes in the act. ඒවයින් අර කියන්නේ සමහරකට අපි කියන්නේ මේක රිංගලා යනවායි කියලා. ඒ රිංගලා ගිහිල්ලා ටැක්ස් එක අඩු කරගන්න පුළුවන්. But it's a within the legal framework. But that is not intended by the government. Therefore, it's not also good thing. But other one is a tax planning. Tax planning. That's what we really should know and we should do. Tax planning is what is tax planning is basically arranging your economic affairs in such a way that your income tax or the tax liability, entire tax, not only income tax, tax liability is less. That is tax planning. But we talk about the progressivity. Progressivity means when the income tax increases, when the income level increases, tax should be increased. This is progressivity. But I explain what is explained is basically practically what's happening. High income earners doesn't pay income tax. Right? Progressivity simply when the income increases, tax should be increased. Efficiency. A tax said to be efficient when the cost of collecting tax is lower compared to the collected tax. Like it's similar to economy basically. Adequacy. A tax collection should be sufficient to cover the expected portion of the public expenditure. In Sri Lanka, this is not sufficient. That's why we have to borrow. Always the budget deficit is there. Why? Adequacy is not there. Broad base. Tax system should be wide enough to include various sectors in the society and population, whereby minimize the individual tax burden. What is the VAT rate now? It's 18%. 18%. everyone. Now, example, in maximum income tax rate is 36%. When we receive income, 36% is deducted. We receive only 64%. When we make the expenditure with this residual income, all the many production goods services then now have the 18% VAT. Therefore, in addition to the cost of these goods, we have to pay 18% tax again. Therefore, again, we have to deduct 18%. We have about 36% plus 18% is a big amount, about 54% tax burden. Why? Reason is Sri Lanka, everyone is not paying taxes. Only few people pay tax. For example, the government need income of 1 billion, we'll say 1 million. Only 1,000 people is paying tax. Equal amount, only they have to pay 1,000. Everyone should pay 1,000. If only 500 people is paying tax, they have to pay 2,000. Similar thing. When the tax base is narrow, we have to pay more. We have to impose high tax rate to get the required amount. When the tax base is broadened, we can reduce drastically the tax rate. Now Sri Lanka, we pay 18% VAT. If the government reduce try to broaden the tax base, I think government should be able to reduce the VAT rate to 5% or 6%. Then everyone can bear that cost. I think now some professionals are proposing to the government today one of my friends is meeting the president. He will be proposing this one to the government to reduce the tax rate. If the government broaden the tax base, government can get the same amount of taxes. That's what government should do. That's one reason the government reduced VAT required threshold to 15 million. Simplicity. I already discussed in different topic, and the average taxpayer should be able to understand the imposition, assessment, and tax payment. Tax should be very simple. As I mentioned earlier, economist service, it was very, very simple tax. Sri Lanka income tax is very complicated. Albert Einstein has said only one thing you cannot difficult to understand income tax. If Albert Einstein says something like that, even you and me also, it's very difficult for us to understand this one. But for our examination purpose, we have to study, we have to learn and do some exercises, and practice it, because every transaction involves some taxes. Then in Sri Lanka, we have several departments for authorities collection taxes. One is Inland Department, Provincial Revenue Department, Excise Department, and Sri Lanka Custom Department. Inland Department කියන්නේ දේශීය ආදායම් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව. Provincial Revenue Department is when the government introduced the Sri Lanka government or the 17th amendment to the constitution, they established provincial council. Then government gave power to collect some taxes to the provincial council. So the provincial council වලටත් වෙනමම revenue department එකක් තියෙනවා. They have divided the functions in what taxes Inland Department can collect, what are the taxes Provincial Revenue Department can collect. And the Excise Department, Surabad Departmentu, when you liquor shop and etc., some like this, the Excise Department is imposing some taxes. Other one is Sri Lanka Custom. At the time of importation of goods to Sri Lanka, at any time, we have to pay many taxes. These taxes are collected by Sri Lanka Custom Department. Some taxes are collected by both the departments. For example, VAT in local transaction, VAT, value-added tax, is collected by Inland Department as well as Sri Lanka Custom Department. VAT, local transaction that is collected by the Inland Revenue Department. At the time of importation, there's a VAT on certain goods. Custom Department is collecting that tax. Provincial council in departments have collect some stamp duty. Stamp duty on land transfers, etc. Some stamp duty is collected by the Inland Department. Likewise, there are some taxes on different mechanism they collect by the different department. Do you have any concern or issue so far? Is it clear for you? Because I don't see any question in the chat box as well. Can I continue? Are you listening? Hello? Okay, right. Tax administration, Inland Department, income tax, value-added tax, nation building tax, stamp under stamp duty, special provision act, economic service act previously, provincial revenue department, stamp duty, mineral tax, various taxes, entertainment tax, drug and chemical tax, lottery tax, price competition tax, and betting tax. Those are the taxes collected by the provincial revenue department. You know, when you are going to organize some musical show, you have to pay tax to the provincial revenue department. Provincial revenue department we have, in addition to the under that under provincial revenue, provincial council, we have the local government like the municipal council, town council, or urban council, Pradeshi Sabha, all comes under provincial council, not under central government. We have central government. Under central government, Inland Revenue Department is there, Custom Department is there, Excise Department is there. Under local government, under provincial council, the Provincial Revenue Department, and under that, or under provincial council, we have the local government. Local government is municipal council, urban council, and Pradeshi Sabha. Certain taxes, you know, rates are Variparam, Pradeshi Sabha given, right? Entertainment tax or stamp duty on certain things, land transfer, etc., collected by the Provincial Revenue Department. Department of Customs is responsible for the collection of taxes on import and export, is playing a major role in the controlling and monitoring imports and exports of restricted and prohibited goods of the environment and health, social and security. These are the function of Custom Department. Excise Department is entrusted to efficient, effective administration of the liquor and tobacco industry in Sri Lanka through collection of revenue, prevention of illicit manufacture and sale of such products for development and welfare of the society, enforcement of the poisons, opium, and the dangerous drugs ordinance for the social protection of Sri Lanka. This is the department basically, or the tax collection authorities, main authorities. In addition to that, there are some other authorities or the institution, they collect taxes like tourism board, tourist board of Sri Lanka collecting tourism levy. Likewise, there are some other telecommunication authorities collecting some taxes, etc. But these are the main four department or authorities who collect taxes. Major taxes. Major taxes in Sri Lanka: income tax, value tax, nation building tax, service economic service tax. These two taxes now abolished. Import duties, nation building tax, and economic service tax recently abolished. Import duties, stamp duties, share transaction levy, excise duty. Out of this, we will be learning income tax, VAT, NBT little bit. I thought of sharing with you little bit of stamp duty also, though it's not in the course outline, just to get an idea. Share transaction levy. Then income tax, liability of a resident individual. Before that, if you are if you learn taxation, uh, what are the opportunities you have, right? The income tax learning, by one thing is you can get knowledge and you can arrange your affairs in such a way that you can reduce income tax liability. That's a primary thing. In addition to that, if you practice tax, if you learn tax in high level, in advanced taxation, you can be a tax consultant, right? When you become a tax consultant, it's a different area of professional. We have Chartered Institute of Taxation of Sri Lanka dedicated for tax education, likewise. And to become a tax consultant, you should know basically business taxes, income tax, VAT, share transaction levy, and all the business related taxes you should know. Little bit of custom duties as well. And if you're going to be a tax consultant, basically tax consultant can be either tax executive or tax manager, is basically doing some calculation and handling tax matters. Beyond that, you can be tax consultant, tax advisor. Is the person who is basically advising business or business to management, arrange these affairs in such a way, these are the way that you can reduce your tax liability. This is a very good profession where you can earn more. When you practice taxation, main department you are handling with is Inland Revenue Department. To appear in the courts of Sri Lanka, you should be attorney at law. Likewise, to appear on behalf of a customer or the client, there should be license you have to take at the Department of Inland Revenue. Everyone cannot appear on behalf of a client at the Department of Inland Revenue. One person is the employee of that company or the business, or partner of that business or director of the company, or there are other professionals prescribed in the act. Those are, one is attorney at law, other one is chartered accountant, other one is a member of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Sri Lanka. These three people and some other people who has so much of experience can be a tax representative at the Department in Revenue. If you are interested to become a tax consultant or tax advisor, expert in the taxation, very good field. I'm saying with experience. You know, certain cases, very interested to argue. Department in Revenue says something else. We come with a different argument, and we try to save money of our client. We can charge a big fee for them. Like there is a big consultant in Sri Lanka. Likewise, you also can be a tax consultant one day. Learn taxation. Don't memorize those what I teach you. Please understand the concept. Then you can be I'll try to create an interest on taxation in yourself. Try to be a tax consultant, right? I'm a chartered tax consultant as well, right? Very good subject, very interesting subject. I like this subject, right? Anyway, right. It's a combination of law and taxation, law and accounting. You should know the law and also accounting to practice taxation. When you are management faculty students, you have a finance background anyway. Then what you learn is a taxation or the law, taxation, right? Imposition of income tax, chargeability of income tax to a person under the Inland Revenue Act, right? Statutory provision, basically we are learning taxation is a law imposed by the government, right? We don't like tax. We don't want to pay tax, but we have to pay tax. Why? It's mandatory. It's a law imposed by the government. Though you don't like, though I don't like. This is a law passed in the parliament. Who is in the parliament? 225 persons to whom we have voted for them. අපි ඒගොල්ලන්ට කැමති දෙයක් කරන්න කියලා ඕන දෙයක් කරන්න කියලා අපි කතිර ගහලා යවලා ඒගොල්ලෝ අපට 36% tax එකකුත් ගහලා 18% tax එකකුත් ගහලා තියෙනවා. ඒක basically we have voted for them to pass whatever law they like. Right? Therefore, it's a law. Inland Revenue Act. Income tax law is mentioned in the Inland Revenue Act. We have so many acts in the past. All are repealed or abolished. Now available for the current tax act is Inland Revenue Act number 24/2017. We don't call as an income tax act. We call it as an Inland Revenue Act. Deshiya Adayam Panata. Not income tax, not Inland Revenue Tax Act. It's Inland Revenue Act number 24/2017. This is a several process in the parliament to be followed, right? After following those process, the act is passed. Once the act is passed, that's become a law of the land, law of the country, right? What's currently available act is 24/2017. How this year and number comes? That is a 24th act. 24 වෙනි පනත 2017 සමත කරපු. එහෙම තමයි act එකකට නම්බරයක් එන්නේ. 2017 අවුරුද්දේ 24 වෙනියට පාස් කරපු act එක තමයි Inland Revenue Act number 24/2017. Once the government passed this act, it should be prevail for some time. But there can be certain changes to be made time to time. Therefore, in certain areas, certain times, certain cases, the act says for these things, certain sub-laws. Have you heard about the Gazette notification? This is Gazette notifications. In the act says this law can be made by a Ministry of Finance, the Department, Commissioner General of Inland Revenue, etc. The act can prescribe certain things that sub-laws, laws passed after the main act or through the circular or the gas notification, we call sub-laws, right? These can be done according to the authority given in the act. For example, certain formats for income tax purpose can be prescribed by the Commissioner General of Inland Revenue time to time, right? Therefore, if we are going to be a tax consultant or tax advisor, tax practitioner, we should know provisions of the Inland Revenue Act as well as the gas contents in the gas notification relevant for that. We should know. I will be sharing those gas notification when it's relevant for you, right? In addition to that, this is a law. There's a 3 institutions in the government. One is the executive, one is the legislature, other one is the judiciary. රටකට තියෙනවා රජයට තියෙනවා ආයතන 3ක්. එකක් තමයි පාර්ලිමේන්තුව, අනිත් එක තමයි විධායකය, අනිත් එක තමයි අධිකරණය. Parliament or the legislature make the law. Parliament එකේ තමයි law එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම හදාගන්නේ. Law is implemented by the executive. What is executive? Who is executive Sri Lanka? Executive president and the cabinet. Cabinet එකේම ඉන්නවා මේ members of the parliament ඉන්න, but it's a theoretically it's separated. We have the parliament, executive, president and the cabinet, and after that we have judiciary, court system. Any dispute of the law should refer to the all the time to the courts of law. මොන හරි dispute එකක් ආපු වෙලාවට it should be referred to the courts. There are so many cases when the government try to collect tax, if the taxpayer think it's not liable for tax, when the government raise the assessment, he appeal, we learn the appeal process later. Ultimately, solution should be given by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has given a decision with regard to certain matters. That's also become the law, part of law, tax law. If therefore, if you are going to be a good lawyer or good tax consultant, you should know the act, provision of the act. You should know the relevant gas certification, and also you should know the relevant decided cases and their facts and the decisions as well. In addition to that, some rulings. These acts are drafted by human beings. There can be so many mistakes or some ambiguities or different meanings can be interpreted by different people. Therefore, Inland Revenue Department, there's a ruling committee. Ruling in the sense they give their clarification. We are not bound by their clarification. But to understand certain things, we should know the rulings as well. Rulings can be seen in the Inland Revenue website. There can public rulings. Public ruling means it's applicable for all the taxpayers, or private rulings. Private rulings of things that clarification is given for us one taxpayer for his issue. Top of that, you should know how to interpret the law, right? There's some interpretation rules of that's from legal side, how to interpret. There can be different meanings in some sections. What's the meaning we should pick up, etc. That we should learn about interpretation rules as well, right? If you're going to be a good tax practitioner, it's a very good job. You can earn a lot of money. This act, right? If you're going to be a tax consultant, the tax advisor, tax practitioner, when you are going to do the Inland department, you don't take my note and go. Every time, if you are going to the department, you should have the Inland Revenue Act, and that is the authority you can present. If you want to say something according to this section, this one, you should show the act and show. You can't show my note or any other CSC like a guide or whatever. You can't show that. It's not valid. It's not valid. Only the Inland Revenue Act is a valid document, right? This act, it's called certified on 24th of October 2017. That's a date of certified by the Speaker of the Parliament. There's a 24th Act of 2017. Certified date is 24th. This certified date is very important. Why? In the Act, it's mentioned the effective dates of the sections. For example, this Act may be, you can see the right-hand side of this. This Act may be cited as Inland Revenue Act number 24 and comes into operation on April 1st, 2018. Therefore, all the section of this act is effective from 1st April 2018. Remember that, right? If this section was not there, and what is the effective date is the certified date. That's a date this document become enforced, effective. Therefore, don't forget that fact as well. Certain acts, they have not mentioned the effective date, right? But in the later section, they mention this section is effective from this date, this section is effective from this date, this section is effective from this date. But if some sections effective date is not mentioned, the effective date should be certified date. Remember that. That's important, right? You can get this from the Inland Revenue website and download it and keep it, or you can buy it from the government print as well. I suggest you to keep a copy and refer when I teach in. Try to understand that language, different language altogether, right? Right. This we have to understand that this parts of the act as well. We call sections and subsection, paragraphs, proviso, means, includes, means, effective date, interpretation, sex interpretation rules. Right. Now I told you the section 1. This is section 1 is that's a main part of the act. Before that we have chapters. Sometimes it depends on the act to act. It's a big, there's a large amount of contents are there in the act. They divide into parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, etc. And after that they can divide into chapters. Subject wise they can divide into chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, etc. Right? Part, chapter, then section comes. Section, we refer basically normally when we don't refer to the chapters and the parts of the act, but when I want to tell something, according to the section 2 of the Inner Revenue Act number 24, 2007, I have to refer that section specifically. When I go into the Inner Revenue Department and argue for a case, according to the section 2 of the Inner Revenue Act number so and so, this should be this one. We have to refer. Therefore, remember that one. Subsection means after 2, there is a within bracket 1. I can say according to the subsection 1 of the section 2, income tax shall be payable for each year of assessment. Right? If I want to refer it, that's the way it should be done. Paragraphs means after that there are some English letters. If I want to tell it's this one, I should say according to the paragraph A of subsection 1 of section 2 of the Inner Revenue Act, starting from the micro level and become little by little bigger. That's the way we have to refer the section of the particular part of particular portion of the act. Proviso means we say after that certain things we get but or meaning is but proviso meaning is but, provided that we say something else, and after say we say something else. Includes means we learn something in the future. Includes means among many other things, this also included. Stationery includes, when I say stationery includes, books, A4 sheets, foolscaps. When I say so, that every other things we can be covered under stationery can be covered. Some we can say means. This definition limited to that. If I say stationery, stationery means A4 sheet and foolscap, that's all. Nothing beyond that. Therefore, those words are very, very important when you are going to be a good tax practitioner. Effective date, I mentioned it, how to do that, how to read it, effective date. Generally, effective date either given in the first or second section of the act or in the latter part of the act. Oh. The interpretation section. These all the words are, some is common words like income, tax, shall be, or these are words. This every word has a meaning, right? Every word has a meaning. For example, income tax. Income. What is income? It's a income means income. What is income? It's very complicated. Do you think though you think it's easy, income is not defined in the act. Very difficult to income, how to interpret income. But someone should interpret it. In certain words are interpreted in this section itself. If that interpretation is there, that interpretation is applicable for that section. If it's not there, many interpretations are given in the interpretation section. We have interpretation section in the latter part of the act. We have to get the interpretation given in that latter part. There's a 195 section in the Inner Revenue Act. These are the interpretation are given, right? We have to get that interpretation. If that interpretation is not in the act, we have to get an interpretation in the general interpretation. What is the general meaning of that word? General meaning of the word. It's applicable for all the tax laws, not only income tax, maybe VAT, maybe SSCL or any other tax laws. This is applicable. Then interpretation rules. Interpretation rules. For example, one section says something else, the other section is conflicting with that. Which one is prevail? We have to find a solution. For those things, we have to find the interpretation rules. Again, interpretation rules come from the either the case laws or some textbooks like Maxwell or Bindra. That's a legal authors who has written textbooks. Right? For example, when you say interpretation rules, assume that there is a law that saying that students cannot enter into the university with a knife, right? Or with some weapon or something, right? Law says something like this. But at the time of when the security check at the gate, some student has come in with a knife, and also she has some mangoes, right? Now some confusion there. The law says, according to the law says you can't enter into the university with a knife because there can be some violent situation. That was the reason to impose that law. But this innocent girl has come to the university with some mangoes to share with his friends. Is that wrong thing she has done? What do you think? Very confusing. This type of situation, to sort this situation, we need some interpretation rules. There are three types of interpretation rules. One is a literal rule. Literal rule. That means වචනේ තියෙන අර්ථයම ගන්න. If we take the literal rule, වචන පදානුගත රීතිය කියලා අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ. If we take the literal rule, you can't enter into the university with a knife. Finish. ඒ ළමයාව කස්ටඩි එකට ගත්තා. එයාට ඒ වැරද්දට දෙන්න නියමිත දඬුවම දුන්නා. එයා ඉවරයි. Right? That's finish. There's another rule called rather mischief rule or the golden rule. Golden rule එකේ කරන්නේ if the result is absurd or if the interpret in the literal rule, if the result is absurd, එක ටිකක් හරි නැත්තම් ඒකෙන් කාටට අගතියක් වෙනවනම් the judge can add certain words and give the proper interpretation. එයාට judge can add for interpretation purpose certain words if someone has come in with not for the purpose of cutting fruits or etc. or something like that, then එහෙම interpret කරා නම් මෙයා වරදකරුවෙක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? ඒක interpretation එක. Right? That's the second thing. It's a golden rule. There's a case it was in, I can't remember which country. There was a law says that if you met with an accident, you have to stop your vehicle. Right? This man met with an accident. He stopped the vehicle, and after a few minutes, he left with the vehicle. According to literal rule, no, nothing to worry because law says he has to stop the vehicle. But sorry. But the law requires, what really need is to stop the vehicle and get this accident or the injured person to the hospital and inform to the person. That's it. That's what really need to do. He hasn't done that. Lisa, in such a case, that he was punished because law interpreted in such a way that with the golden rule. Other one is a mischief rule, intention of the law. There's a case in the UK that's prostitutes. It says law says you can't attract customers by walking on the road. Prostitutes are basically attracting their customers by walking on the road. What they did was, what this prostitute did was, they were in the balcony. They were in the balcony and attract the customers. Police raided and remanded them, and now the matter went to courts. Lawyers of these prostitutes argue that law says you can't walk on the road, and attract customers. But our client didn't walk on the road. But government or the court rejected that argument. Why? Its basic intention of the law is to avoid or protect the society from these unethical or illegal practices. Therefore, these are the main three interpretation rules. We should know if there's a conflict or ambiguity in the law, tax laws, what rule we should apply. Except that there's something more, but that's enough for you for the moment about interpretation. If you have any query or any clarification need, please do not hesitate, right? Right. We learn this one. We learn about the authorized representatives, means who can appear in the Inland Revenue Act, Inland Revenue Department, members of the Chartered Institute, Chartered Accountant of Sri Lanka, an attorney at law, an employee regularly employed by the person. These are the person who are authorized to appear at the Inland Revenue Department on behalf of a client, right? You try to be one of here, either chartered accountant, attorney at law, an employee regularly employed by that person, or member of the Sri Lanka. It was previously in Sri Lankan taxation, but they got the chartered status. An individual approved by the Commissioner General of registered as an auditor under the Companies Act. They should come to get the approval. They should have about 10 to 15 years experience, and individual is specified by the Commissioner General of any other kind. Right. Individual specified by the Commissioner General of any other kind. This act I am referring. Then Commissioner General has authority. Commissioner General is authorized to name the person. We'll go to the Gazette. They says you can refer 195 under 1. They says they are referring this Gazette notification. This is the way this act and the Gazette connected. Act says Commissioner General or Minister of Finance can do or may authorize or may prescribe. Then to do that, he can't just send a paper notice. He has to publish. That's a government official publication. He has to gazette it in the extraordinary gazette and say, by virtue of the powers vested in me under the section 4 of the paragraph A under the caption of authorized representative in the subsection 1, section 95, the Inland Revenue Act number 24, 2007, Nelum Guruge, Nadun Guruge, he was the commissioner at that time of the Inland Revenue, do notification, repeal, etc., and authorize who are the authorized representative. This is the way it's connected. Right. This is the person he has gazetted, and citizen under resident Sri Lanka has individual given. Don't remember those. I want to highlight this act and the other legislation, other laws, how it's connected. What I mentioned earlier. This is a very interesting case. I just want to tell you, there was a lawyer who operated from his chamber. He has his office at his home, and he is going to the courts. In this, there's a section in the Inland Revenue Act that it says for income tax calculation, you cannot deduct the expenditure from home to your place of business. The section is there. What the section say, I will don't get confused. I just try to explain this, how this legislation is help you to be a to do tax calculation, right? Law says there certain deductions are allowed, but traveling expenditure between home and the place of business is not deductible. This lawyer has an office at his home. He was going from office from home to from basically office to courts. Department of Milano rejected this claim, right? But he argued. He went up to the court. He doesn't have any cost. He's a lawyer, no? Right? He argued he's traveling between two business places. His business place is office and the courts. Therefore, ultimately, government or the court gave the decision that expenditure is allowable expenditure, right? It's a Rajapaksa versus Commission of Income Tax, a very old case, but still valid yet in 1932 Act. Rulings. Ruling is basically public rulings and public rulings. I explained you earlier. Rulings also, you should remember what are the rulings, etc. Right? On the chargeability of the income tax, can we continue like this or how, Natasha Miss?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, can we continue?
Yes, sir. If you
Okay,
want, we can have a small break and
okay,
then continue, sir.
okay. Can we then take a 5 minutes break? Is it okay?
Yes, sir, sure.
Okay. Now time is 9:03. We'll start 9:10. Is it okay? Sorry, 7:10, right?
7:10, yes.
Okay, thank you. Are you okay? Hello.
Hello, sir.
Can we start?
Yes, sir. We'll start now, sir.
Okay. Right. Now we have discussed basically the background of the taxation, who collect taxes, and what's the main document, etc. It's very interesting subject, right? Uh, it's very easy to learn and easy to remember. You don't want to remember it. If you can understand the concepts, very easy. This is the way I understand basically. You can see in the slide, the right hand side is the original uh, copy of the act in the imposition of the tax. But when I learn, I always break this sentence or the clauses into pieces and try to remember. Now, I don't want to read this one or remember this, memorize this one. If I can, when I see this 1, 2, 2.2, etc., I can read with my words what is there. Likewise, taxation is very, very easy subject. That's why I did master it. So basically, I thought of learning taxation, very good area. Now we learn about the Income Tax Act, imposition of income tax. The main section 2, generally all the acts, many acts, section 2 is the most powerful section of any taxing act. Therefore, we have to learn or understand this section very carefully. Section 2.1, or we can say subsection 1 of the section 2. Income tax shall be payable for each year of assessment. Each year of assessment, right? Income tax. There's a tax called income tax. Income tax means nothing else, tax on income. A person who has a taxable income or a person who receives a final withholding payment. Therefore, there are some here, sir, few things you are not familiar with. Income tax is the law, no? This is a subject we are learning. Shall be, shall be means it's a mandatory. You can't escape from this because it's law passed by the parliament. Payable is given the TNR for each year of assessment. Each year of assessment. Each hammer avruddakatama. Each year we know, but when you say each year of assessment, there is additional 2 words. Year of assessment. We have to find the correct meaning of what is this year of assessment is. I told you to find the first in the section or in the latter part of the sections. 2A, 2.1a, a person who has a taxable income. B, a person who receives the final withholding payment during the year. Then during the year. Then what is year of assessment? A person, when we say person, is a general meaning also we have, but there should be a different meaning. We have to see what is the meaning given in this act. What's the meaning given in the act? Taxable income. What is taxable income? We are finding withholding payment, etc. What is year of assessment? Year of assessment is nothing else. We call Y stroke A also to simply say year of assessment. Singaling can taxer varshay කියලා. Easy to remember. 12 months period. Year it's a 12 months period. From 1st April to commencing from here from 1st April to 31st March of the next year. 12 months commencing from 1st April to 31st March the next year. Basically, financial year, many companies in the private sector, they close their account by 31st March of each year. That's a year basically, right? You can't have the year of assessment from 1st January to 31st December, right? Year of assessment means that define 1st April to 31st March of the next year. එක සරලව කියනවා අපි 2021 22 කියලා කියනවා. 2000 if we start from 1st April 2021 to 31st March 2022, we call it the year of assessment 2021-22. Very simple to remember, easy, very easy. Year of 2020-21 means 2021 means 12 months commencing from 1st April 2020 to 31st March of 2021. Right. If your assessment is clear for you, I suppose, right? Then person who has a taxable, who should be pay taxes? Person. If the definition is there for person means only individuals, then entity should not pay tax. So we should look at carefully who is a person. You see what's a person means? Person means, I told you to understand the means. An individual or entity. Or entity, and includes a body of persons, corporate to unincorporated, an executor or non-governmental organization, and a charitable institution. Therefore, as government wants to collect taxes from everyone, they have given this meaning. If this meaning was not there, when someone says person, he says only individuals can come. Now you can't have that meaning because at define who is a person is. Person, an individual, this a section says, but when you summarize it, an individual, an entity, both. Entity also covered. It includes body of persons, corporate and or unincorporated, and executor, non-governmental organization, and charitable institution. An executor is the person who is handling the deceased person's estate. මැරිච්ච එක්කෙනෙක්ගේ වෙල්ත් එක හැන්ඩල් කරන්නේ එයා තමයි එක්සෙකියුටිව් කියලා කියන්නේ. කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් හොඳ වෙල්ත් එකක් තියෙන කෙනෙක් වරුණාට පස්සේ ගවර්න්මන්ට් එකකින් අපොයින්ට් කරනවා උසාවියෙන් අපොයින්ට් කරනවා එක්කෙනෙක් to handle his property. මොකද there is no owner now. The executor should take legal action and divide this estate or the wealth among the heirs, owners. ඒකට එන උරුමකරුවන් අතර බෙදලා දෙන්න කෙනාට තමයි එක්සෙකියුටිව් කියලා කියන්නේ. non governmental organization, NGOs කියලා කියන අපි charitable institution කියලා කියනවා. ඒ ගොඩක් පුණ්‍ය ආයතන වලට කියනවා. ඒක තමයි person යටතට වැටෙන්නේ basically. Then that's about the section, right? Then taxable income. Taxable income is nothing else. Here, assessable income from employment. You know how you can earn income. There's 4 ways of earning income. It's there's one thing is you can work for someone, you can employ it on someone and get income. That is salary and the benefits. That's we call as employment income. Second, someone can do business, like maybe a self-employment or the big business or larger business or various SME sector, etc. Those are the business income. Other one is investment. You have wealth, you have cash, you have excess funds. You made investment. You invest in banks, in FDs. You invest in share market. You invest in real estate. You buy apartment, right? If income is coming from those areas, that's called income from investment. Therefore, for income tax calculation, taxable income, how to calculate taxable income? We have to get employment income. Someone can have employment income. He can do a side business as well. He can have some business income as well. His savings can be invested in somewhere and he can get the investment income as well, or any other income, or accessible income, any other source. If it's not classified under above 3, this comes under this one. Because as government wants to cover almost everything, as the government want to tax everything, this they have put the fourth one as well, any other thing. But it should be an income. When we get all these 4 items, assume that I am getting a salary. That's my employment income. We will be discussing this in detail, how to calculate. Is my overall receipt from employment taxable or not? We are discussing in detail. This is just an idea. Assessable income from employment, assessable income from business means assume that you do a business, small business. You you have a hardware to your home. That's a business. Business profit calculation different from employment income calculation. Profit calculation for income tax purpose of business, you can deduct all expenses. All expenses you can deduct it. But in the case of employment, nothing can be deducted. All that's the reason. And also I'll tell the final as well, investment income. If when you made the investment in share market, that's has been exempted in Sri Lanka. Profit from sale of shares in the stock exchange is exempted. Assume that now I told you at the beginning, Secretary of Warren Buffett pays higher taxes than Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's secretary has employment income. Nothing can be deducted. Everything she's getting is taxable. But Warren Buffett has a business. Business profit is taxable only on the net value. Net profit is taxable. Therefore, its tax should be low. And also, Warren Buffett's main income source is not business really, it's an investment income. Investment income, I think USA also, the similar law should be there. Therefore, investment income is mostly exempted. Therefore, Warren Buffett pays lesser tax than his secretary. Sri Lanka also same. We have a rich person who is a big investor in the share market. They are paying lesser tax than us, right? When you learn this tax calculation in detail, you will be able to plan your affairs. Where to invest your money, where to invest your funds, excess funds, and how to get the tax exemption, how to escape from taxation within the legal framework. To understand those, you should have a thorough understanding about this calculation part as well. When you get this all 4, it's called total assessable income. Then there are some relief and allowance and relief. For example, individuals of Sri Lanka has 1.2 million exemption or tax free. We have 1.2 million exemption. Every individual has. Previous it was 3 million per annum. Now it has been reduced to 1.2 million. When you deduct that and these some qualifying payment, when you made some donation to the government, you can deduct that as well. Then you receive the taxable income. That's the definition in the charges section. Taxable income is that. Throughout our lessons, we are talking about only this one. A little bit of how to deal with the Inland Department with calculation. First part may be boring because there's so much of discussion and the text or the rather essay type, but it's a real interesting one from here, right? Then there's other section called final withholding payment. That means certain income previously we had, when the tax is deducted, this is withholding tax. Simply, what is withholding tax? Withholding tax is a tax where when some payment is made by some one person to another, this first person should deduct tax on behalf of the government and directly remit it to the Department of Environment. Forget this one. Assume that you have a deposit about 1 million in the bank, fixed deposit, for a 1 year FD, then you are given about 12% 12% interest. That's a 120,000 interest you can get. When the interest is paid to you, bank should deduct 5%. That means 120,000 into 0.5%, 0.05%, but 600, no? Something like has to deduct from your interest income and pay balance only to you, and the tax should be directly remitted to the inner revenue department by the bank. Withholding tax when my employer pays me salary, they deduct APIT, advanced personal income tax, and pay the tax to the government, balance salary to me. Withholding tax. APIT කියලා කියනවා, ඉස්සරක pay කියලා, but it's a similar method. When the landowner receives the payment from the tenant, it's a tax again. Tenant rent එක ගෙවනකොටත් tax එක අඩු කරලා landlord එක ගෙවන්න. That's also withholding tax. When the company declare a dividend, they have to deduct a tax again. That's called dividend tax, but it's also a withholding tax. මේ විදියට ගෙවනකොට the recipient, previously we had this section practice, when you receive the tax after tax profit, net interest, it was exempted. When you receive the dividend after withholding, it was exempted. Now it's the different case, but this section is still in the act, right? We'll discuss all those in detail in later, right? We learn those. Then the total income tax payable means section 21A plus section 21B. That's the section 212 says. Section 2 කියන්නේ total income tax එක කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා. What is the total income tax කියන එක තමයි 21A and 21B එක කියන්නේ. 222 වල කියන්නේ අර දෙක එකතුව කියලා. 23A says tax payable under 21B minus net tax payable at they have to apply this taxable income. Then we have to apply tax rates. Then you arrive at gross income tax payable. It says how to calculate it. Then there's a foreign tax credit. Foreign tax credit that means when you earn income in outside Sri Lanka, when you receive that income from outside, there can be some tax deducted from that country. You can deduct that tax credit. And Sri Lanka also, when we calculate, because the tax when withholding tax deducted income there, you can deduct that tax rate as well. Don't worry about this. When we do the detailed calculation, I will clearly explain further. Balance tax payable. This is about the calculation part. These are the answers we are supposed to get under chargeable section. Who shall pay tax? For which period? The person should pay tax. Year of assessment. On what tax shall be paid? Source of income, employment income, business income, investment income, other source, and how to calculate calculation. These are the 4 things given in the section 2. Then other very interesting area is a residential status of an individual's and income tax liability. Now, many people are living in Sri Lanka. because they says income tax. One is a tax, another is economic instability and the political instability, etc. Many are leaving country. Do you think then that don't they pay tax to Sri Lanka? What do you think? What is who is liable to pay Sri Lanka tax and on what they should pay tax? Two types of persons we assume: resident versus non-resident. Citizenship is different from residency. Citizen කියලා කියන අපි පුරවැසියෙක් කියන එක. අපට උපතින්ම as our parents are citizen, we get the automatic citizenship in Sri Lanka. Some get but registration, PR ගන්න පුළුවන්. So, citizenship ගන්න පුළුවන්. It's a different thing. Don't get confused with citizenship and residency. Resident is අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ වාසික, non-resident means නිර්වාසික. Is income tax liability same? Person who is India and person who is Sri Lanka is income tax liability same. Resident person income tax liability section 4A says a person, a resident person on their income from employment, business, investment income. This is 4-year assessment wherever the source arises. If you are a resident person, income arising from anywhere. I am a resident in Sri Lanka. මට ලෝක කොහෙන් ආදායමක් ආවා? Right? Maybe from India, maybe from Japan, USA, UK, Iceland, or from even Moon or Mars. හදෙන් හරි අඟහරු ලෝකෙන් හරි ආදායමක් ආවා නම් I am liable to pay tax to Sri Lanka government wherever arising. Wherever the source arises. ඕ ලෝකෙ කොහේ ආවත්. That means a global income is liable to pay in Sri Lanka tax. If you're a resident person, it's very vital to decide how to decide whether that person is resident or non-resident. Assume that Bill Gates comes to Sri Lanka and is become a resident, he has to pay a big income tax to Sri Lanka. Right? අපට පුළුවන් රට දියුණු කරන්න කියලා ලොකු ලෝකින්න ඔක්කොම big කට්ටිය ඇවිල්ලා මේ ලංකාවේ තියාගත්තා නම් resident වෙනකන් we can get a good income tax. Right? Yes. Like, then remember, if a resident person, if it's resident person, wherever that's global income, he has to pay tax. He has to pay tax. Then non-resident, this other side is non-resident, non-resident. Non-resident person income tax liability is for B on income from same source, subject to such income arises or is derived from source in Sri Lanka. It's non-residents should pay tax to Sri Lanka only on the income arises or derived from Sri Lanka. Right? වෙන රටක එක්කෙනෙක් වෙන රටක ඉන්න ගමන් ලංකාවේ දේපලක් තියෙනවා නම් එහෙම නැත්නම් ලංකාවට සර්විස් එකක් දීලා ඉන්කම් එකක් ගත්තා නම් එයා ටැක්ස් ගෙවන්න ඕනේ ලංකාවෙන් ගත්ත ආදායමට විතරයි. Only on the income arises so derived from Sri Lanka. Assume that Indian person has a tea estate in Sri Lanka, he has to pay tax to Sri Lanka only on the profit of the tea estate. Right? If that person has deposited some money in the bank, Sri Lanka bank, he has to pay tax on that income only. අපි යාගේ තියෙන තමිල්නාඩුවේ නිව් දිල්ලි වල තියෙන ඒවා බලන්නේ නැහැ. ඒවා අපිට වැදගත් නැහැ. We don't want to pay tax on these. Right? But the Sri Lankan person, Sri Lanka resident person, at a ලෝකෙ කොහේ හරි wherever, that income should be taxable in Sri Lanka. Then how to decide resident or non-resident? Because it's very, very important to decide whether that particular person is resident or non-resident. You and me are resident. You and me are resident. Nothing to worry. Then this matter arises the person who travel around the world. Around the world. Then only this problem arises. Act define section 70, an individual shall be resident in Sri Lanka for a year of assistance if the individual resides in Sri Lanka. Resides ලංකාවේ පදිංචි වෙලා ඉන්නවා නම් resident in Sri Lanka. Resides in Sri Lanka. Resides. What is meant by resides? Because he can be 6 months in Sri Lanka, he can be 6 months in outside. There should be some definition, no? Or he is in Sri Lanka, but he doesn't have house in Sri Lanka. There's so much confusion can be there. They have actually prescribed those. But unfortunately or fortunately, this residence resides meaning resides word is not defined in the act. Resides words is not defined in the act. Therefore, we have to decide how we can decide whether this person is a resident or non-resident. For this, we have 3 tests basically. One is qualitative test, other one is a quantitative test and residual test. Though called test, don't worry about this, a very simple thing. Who is resident? Assume that I want to migrate. I want to migrate. Right? Then first I went for a foreign job. Do you think I reside in Sri Lanka or I am reside outside Sri Lanka? Under qualitative test says if I have sold my house, if I have given my closed my bank accounts, if I have closed my all clubs membership, etc., and I have basically closed everything in Sri Lanka, that's under qualitative test. I am not a resident in Sri Lanka. If though I am living outside Sri Lanka, assume that I have gone for a job in Middle East, my permanent house in Colombo, my family is in Colombo, my old bank accounts in Colombo or in Sri Lanka, or my club membership, CA membership, everything is in existence Sri Lanka. I am still resident. I am still resident under qualitative test. Right? If I have sold my permanent house in Sri Lanka, I have closed my old bank accounts and have taken money to the foreign country, closed my old club membership and other society membership and everything. I don't have any connection in Sri Lanka. That means I am not a resident for income tax purpose. Remember, this definition is applicable only for income tax law. You can't take this definition for any other purpose unless that law says take this definition. Right? Qualitative test is basically to decide whether I have closed everything. Simply closed everything. I have closed all my house, I have closed my bank account, I have closed my society or the club membership, etc. I have taken it off. Then under qualitative test, I am not a resident in Sri Lanka. Under quantitative test, for example, is Ruan Fernando has transferred for 2 years to branch of the company which is in India. He decided not to accompany with his family. That means the family in Sri Lanka, since the children are schooling here and wife is working here, he has apartment home available in Sri Lanka, and his bank accounts are continued to be maintained for the remitting his salary to Sri Lanka. However, he has given up his club membership and sold his motor car. He has rented out an apartment in India. When he is free, he flies to Sri Lanka at least once in three months. When you read this, you see that he has not given up his residency. He still under Sri Lanka income, according to Sri Lanka income tax, is a resident under qualitative test. You can remember, individual has a home regularly available, uses the criteria, location of individual's family, location individual's economic and social activities. Right. Quantitative test. Under quantitative test says, if someone is in Sri Lanka, physically present in Sri Lanka during 12 months period, 12 months period, 12 months period, uh, present in Sri Lanka during the year of during the year. It doesn't say year of assessment, right? And presence falls within period of period or periods. ඒ කියන්නේ 12 months period එකක් ඇතුලේ ඒ කියන්නේ මොන අවුරුද්දක පටන් අරගෙන ජනවාරි ඉඳලා ඊගාව ඒ අවුරුද්ද 31 මාර්ච් වෙනකන් හරි කොටස් වශයෙන් හරි ඉන්නවා නම් දවස් 183ක් හරි ඊට වඩා වැඩි. දවස් 183 183 days means exactly half of the year. 365 days divided by 2 is 182.5. ඒක 183ක් ගන්න අපි ඒක බලනවා, right? ඒ දවස් ගානට වඩා ඉන්නවා නම් ඒ පටන් ගන්න අවුරුද්දත් ඉවර වෙන අවුරුද්දත් ඒ ඇතුළ අවුරුද්දත් ඔක්කොම ටික ප්‍රෙසිඩන්ට් විදියට තමයි කන්සිඩර් කරන්නේ. This section is little bit confusing, but the meaning is that if someone is present in Sri Lanka in 12 months period, මාස 12ක් ඇතුළත ඉන්නවා නම් during that period or periods කෑලි ඇවිල්ලා මගදී ඇවිල්ලා හරි 183 days or more ඉන්නවා නම් he is resident starting year එකත් ending year එකත් he seems to be resident in Sri Lanka. I think it's clear for you. That's not a quantitative test. You have given 2 examples. You can work out, and we'll discuss these 2 examples in next day. Takagi and Sato, who have joined Fuji Lanka Limited as the residence representative of Sri Lanka, they have visited Sri Lanka to resume duties keeping their families in Japan. Their travel schedule for the entire period is as follows. How do you get these details? What's the source document? You should know the practice as well. If the government inland department want to decide to whether it's a resident or non-resident, there's a document to be produced to the Department of Environment. That is your passport. The passport, date of entry and date of departure is sealed at the airport. These are the source document where you can track the date of arrival and date of departure. The one is residual test. Under that, there's 2 things. It's an employee and official of the government. Sri Lankan his spouse is posted to abroad during the year. Sometimes government send the staff, government officers, so the employees to foreign countries. In such a situation, though they are physically outside Sri Lanka, because the government has sent them for the foreign employment, government officers we are talking about, official the government, they are that employee as well as the spouse, wife or husband, is considered to be resident in Sri Lanka. That is one. Final one is an individual who is employed on a Sri Lankan ship within the meaning of the Merchant Shipping Act during the period individual is so employed. Now, if someone is working in a ship all the time, he is on the sea, then how do you decide that person is resident in which country? Because he normally he goes to the land only for few days. Most of the time he is on the sea. In such a situation, he can avoid taxes because he is not a resident of any country. Therefore, to avoid that type of ambiguities, the government has introduced section. If the ship or vessel is registered in Sri Lanka, though the vessel or ship goes all over the world, he is a resident of Sri Lanka. Remember that. Though he doesn't come to Sri Lanka for about many years, but if the ship is registered under Sri Lankan flag. He is a resident person in Sri Lanka, right? I think it's clear. If you have any question, please, can I see chat box? Is that any so far? No, right? I think it's clear. Next, the company, for a residence state of a company. Now we talk about individual, physically human beings. We talk about. They can be male, female, or in between. Physically presence එක තමයි බලන්නේ අපි under quantitative test එක යටතේ. Qualitative test එක බලන්නේ what we have done, have we sold about, etc. Residual test එක යටතේ I think it's clear for you now. For a company doesn't have the physical existence. It's a basically legal personality. Once you incorporate a company, it is legal personality arised or created, the artificial person. For those companies, we can't apply the rule we learn for individuals. Therefore, we have a different set of rules. A company shall be resident in Sri Lanka for a year of assessment if it is incorporated or formed under the laws of Sri Lanka. Carefully see this para A. It is incorporated or formed. That means that any company incorporated or formed under the laws of Sri Lanka. It doesn't say under the company laws or law of Sri Lanka. Therefore, remember, if we learn about what's we learn under companies company taxation, what's the company's real meaning is, under if the any incorporation given under any law, it's a resident. Can be body of corporate can be created through a government act like Sri Lankan Electricity Board or anything or any other act, as also can be considered as the can be interpreted as the company, or it is registered to the principal office in Sri Lanka. There can be companies not incorporated in Sri Lanka but can register in Sri Lanka under foreign company, right? Or registered or their principal office, main office, registered office Sri Lanka. That's also considered as Sri Lankan resident for income tax purpose. Similar rule apply, yeah. This is a resident company. World income is liable for income tax. In non-resident company, only income arising from Sri Lanka is liable for Sri Lanka income tax. At any time, or third one, at any time during the year of assessment year, management and the control of the affairs of the company are exercised in Sri Lanka. This is not the operational management. This is basically board of directors. Board of directors are assemble and gather together in Sri Lankan office physically. We can consider this as the management and control of the affairs are exercised in Sri Lanka, right? Not operational management. Very important. The board of directors, right? There are some decided cases. At this level, we don't learn that, right? That's about residency status of the company. And that's about the lesson today. If you have any questions or clarification need further, any comment or criticism or anything, because this is the first time I'm teaching you all, I wish to know certain comments or from you all. Whether am I too fast, am I too slow? That's about today lesson. The next lessons will be some calculation. First part of the lesson may be a little boring because so many things to about the background of taxation, but very interesting subject. If you master taxation, you can save a lot of money for your clients. You can earn more. You can charge a big fee for them, right? Right. Very important area. Now everyone should pay tax. Everyone have to pay tax. Now the government has introduced to clean registration for everyone who is 18 years old. And now recently legislation is passed again to link all the banks and financial institutions to the inner department. With that, government is broadening the tax base. Therefore, if you have income, if someone has income of more than 100,000, other than exempt income, right? Everyone should pay. Everyone has to pay tax. If everyone is paying tax, tax rate obviously will come down. That's about today's lesson. If you have anything to share with me, please. Yes, Ms. Natasha?
Yes, thank you, sir. So we can wind up the session now, no, sir?
Yes.
Yes. So students, before winding up, Yasara Vijayaratna 23165 and 23166 Angana. Can you please give me, like, drop me a text message? I will drop my phone number. Can you please drop me a text message?
Okay,
I
madam.
have dropped my, yes. You can see my number, right? Angana and Yasara. Yasara, are you there?
Yes, madam.
Yes, okay. Please drop me a text. Right. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Okay.
Good night.
All right. Thank you, Rashmi, for your comment.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Thank you.